Today we are separating the good public speaking advice from the bad, vague, and confusing public speaking advice. Today's public speaking advice comes from a Business Insider article back in 2014. 10 things you should do 15 minutes before a presentation. The advice was given by Darlene Price, who is a speaker and book author. The first piece of advice that Price gives you is use the restroom. Or depending where you are, you call it the bathroom or the toilet, whatever you call it. Now, her logic behind this is that when you get jittery, you tend to want to go. However, because of my own experience, I have to give this advice a 2 stars out of 5. The only reason why I don't give it 1 star is because there is some legitimacy to this advice. Normally, you don't have to use the restroom when you're in moments of anxiety. Your body is preparing to either fight or run away, and it's not thinking about going to the restroom. Now, that is until you feel cornered. When you feel cornered and you think that you have nowhere else to go, that's when you start to lose control of your bowels. At least that's what happens for animals, and it happens for some small children. However, if it does happen for you as an adult, you may have some other problems to think about. The next piece of advice, check out the meeting room and the audio visual equipment. Now, this advice I give 5 out of 5 stars. When you are going to speak, you want to get to the room early. You want to survey the lay of the land, if you will. You want to check the audio equipment and make sure that it works. You want to make sure that the audio equipment can work with your clothing. You also want to get a visual of where people will be sitting later. This will help you prepare yourself mentally for the presentation that you are about to give. Next piece of advice, meet and greet the audience before you speak. Okay, now I admit that this one is good advice. However, I am still going to give it 3 out of 5 stars because of this logic. If it's 15 minutes before I'm about to give a presentation, I am not going to spend that time talking with the audience. I will have done that a couple of hours before or even 30 minutes before, but not 15. You can also think about this from the perspective of an introvert and an extrovert. If you're an extrovert, then you can probably do this no problem and you would give this 5 out of 5 stars. However, if you're an introvert, you're going to be expending energy by interacting with people early on. And then you're going to get on stage and interact with even more people. It's going to be more tiring for you as an introvert if you are talking to people beforehand. So I say save your energy for when you need it most on the stage. Again, that's if you're introverted. If you're extroverted, then you have no problem. Tip number 4, take several deep belly breaths. This piece of advice I give 5 out of 5 stars because Price is right. Price is right. Taking deep breaths will help you reduce your anxiety. If you focus on taking deep belly breaths, meaning from your diaphragm, you're going to breathe in, feel your belly moving out, and when you breathe out, you'll feel your belly moving back in, and doing that repeatedly will lower your heart rate naturally. And if you are feeling anxious, your heart rate is definitely going to be high, and it will need to be calmed down. Tip number 5 from the article is to practice the first minute of your speech in your head. This one I give 4 stars, but only because of my personal preference. Before I'm about to get on the stage, I will listen to an audio recording of my presentation. I will listen to the opening up until the first transition to the body of the speech. However, if you prefer to go over it in your mind, then you are free to do so. This is still quality advice. The 6th piece of advice is to focus on positive thoughts and images. Okay, I'm gonna have to be cynical and give this 2.5 stars because honestly, affirmations don't solve the problem. Instead of focusing on giving a strong opening, you should be focusing on listening to your speech or going over it in your mind. There is going to be so much more that you can do instead of focusing on positive imagery. Now, the logic explained in the article is that you don't want to start thinking about negative thoughts. And my thought process is that if you focus on preparing yourself beforehand, then you're not going to give yourself an opportunity to have negative thoughts, which is actually another reason why I suggest listening to yourself in the audio recording instead of going over it in your mind. What if you're going over your speech in your head and then you forget? All of a sudden, you start to lose a little bit more confidence, right? However, if you have an audio recording of you getting it right every time, then that's going to increase your confidence, at least in my opinion. Tip number 7 from the article, smile. Now this one I give 5 stars and for multiple reasons. The first one being that when you smile, you release a chemical called dopamine, and dopamine makes your body feel good. The other reason why it's good to smile is that when you get on stage and you're smiling, you're going to show more confidence, and it's going to make your audience feel better about you giving a speech. Tip number 8, Price says to sip some warm water and if possible, get some with lemon. Now, normally I would have given this 5 stars, but the fact that she added the lemon to the end of it makes me drop it down to a 4. While yes, warm water is great for your voice if you're about to speak, it can help soothe your throat. However, lemon for some people can actually agitate their throats. And drinking lemon is going to be more acidic, which can cause acid reflux, which can cause you to want to clear your throat. And personally for me, whenever I drink lemon water, the tartness always makes me feel more thirsty. So what I would suggest instead is to get some herbal tea or to drink some water with ginger. Or at the end of the day, you can just simply drink the warm water. Tip number 9, exercise lightly. Yep, this one is great. 5 out of 5 stars. Whenever you are feeling anxious, your body wants to move. Your body wants to respond in either one of 2 ways, fight or flight. Give your body what it wants, at least a little bit, and allow it to move. This allows your body to let go of some of that tension and some of that stress, and it also allows for you to concentrate on not being nervous. The final piece of advice that Price gives is to assume a standing position 5 minutes prior to you speaking. I guess I can understand the logic of this one, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars, but I would suggest that you not just stand, because standing can just be as bad as basically sitting. 5 minutes before a presentation, you're still going to be nervous and you can still benefit from moving around. Now, I'm not saying to keep doing your light exercising, but you can still move around, walk around backstage, or just find some way to move around and expel some of the excess energy. If all you're doing is standing, then in my eyes, all you're doing is sitting while on your feet. That doesn't make sense. But I hope you get what I mean. So I suggest not to just stand idle, but to assume a standing position and still move around. However, no matter what advice that you decide to use, whether it's from the article or from me, make sure that you use the advice that works for you.